Okay, so turn to page 224 and section 210. Go ahead and read the Explorer. Try to figure out how to balance those chemistry equations. They give you an example. Try to figure out what they're doing. And then go ahead and try number 1, A, B, and C on your own, and then we'll talk about them in just a second. So pause, see if you can figure those out, and then we'll go over. All right, okay, so hopefully you tried these on your own, and the whole point of this is not that I'm going to test you over chemistry, it's just whether you understand that equations have to be balanced. And in chemistry, they don't quite use parentheses like we do. They would know that that makes a chemical compound, so they would not put a parenthesis there. So this does mean that I have 2 of these, which would mean I have 4 of them total, and I have 2 of those. So oxygen, 2 of them with 2 would be 4. And so over here, it has to balance. So again, they know that this makes water, so they would know this is 2 sets of water. So 2, and there's my hydrogen, 2 and 2 is 4, and my oxygen, 2, and there's just a 1 there, we don't write it, is 2, and then another 2 over here. So you can see that the left balances with the right. All right, let's look down here. Nitrogen. I have, again, this is glued together. They don't need parentheses. They know what it makes. So 2 and 2 make 4, 5, 6. Hydrogen, there's 4 over there. With set 2 is 8. And then there's none over there. And then oxygen, it looks like there's 4 here. All right, and so on this side, you can see all 6 right there for the nitrogens. Hydrogens, again, this is water, and they know it's glued together. They don't need parentheses, so 4 and 2 make 8. And the oxygen with 4 would make 4. All right, flip the page, or to the top of the next page for that one. This one's a little more complicated. So you should end up getting, let's see, at 12. So let's look at hydrogen. Now, again, this is kind of all this chunk is glued together with that 3. So we got to remember that. So, and then this is all glued together. So 2 and 3 is 6. And then here I have 2 and 3, which is 6. So I have 12 over here. I think this is phosphorus. So there's 2 over here. I don't think there's any over there. Let's see what's next. Oxygen. So there's 4, and then 2 is 8. And then what do I have over here? 2 and 3 is 6. So 8 and 6 is what? 14. And calcium, where's my calcium? Right here, no subscript, so there's just 3 of those. So I know that my right side has to match that. Calcium's probably the easiest to see because it's right there, so that one's not too bad. Let's look at the phosphorus. Do you see how that's just to the 2? And here they use parentheses when there's something else going on with the atoms and so forth. So we know there's 2 there. Hydrogen, where am I at? There's 2, and again, this is all glued together, so 6 and 2 is 12. So the last thing I have is oxygen. So let's look at the oxygen. I should have 14. Here that 2 goes with that 4, there's 8, and that 6 goes with that, so there's my 14. And the big idea here is that when you have equations, it's like a balance. The left and the right side have to be balanced. All right, go ahead and try number 2. A, B, C, D, and E are on the next page, and I'll come back and we'll go over those. All right, so the whole reason we did a little chemistry there is to get that in math. When you have an equation, it has to be balanced too. So the way you test that is you take that answer, right, and you sub that in. So I'm going to sub that in right there. So 2 minus 3 times 3, and 2 minus 9. And I'm just doing order of operations here to see what I get. That's a -7. And notice that the left and the right balance. And so I know that I have the correct answer. Let's try 2. So again, I'm just going to sub that in and do order of operations. 2 minus 1 is 1. And then 14 divided by 1 is 14. Minus 4 is 10. And notice that balances with the right side. So again, I'm 100% sure I did the problem right. Okay. Now, usually there's math to do on both sides. So these were kind of easier examples. I'm going to sub 5 in here, and then I'm going to sub 5 in here. So the square root, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 1. And then I'm going to sub the 5 in there, 8 minus 5. 10 minus 1 is 9. And the square root of 9 is 3. And I'm going to see what's happening over here. 8 minus 5 is 3 also. So again, the left and the right balance. So I'm 100% sure I have the right answer. This one over here, just be a little careful. I already worked this out. If you sub in a negative number, that negative number is being squared. So a negative times a negative is a positive 4. This negative out front just means make that answer negative. So you got to be a little cautious there. When subbing in a negative number that you're squaring, just know a negative times a negative is a positive. That negative out front is something different there. And then this one subbed in, that checked as well. All right, go ahead and try number 3, parts A, B, and C, and I'll be right back. All right, so on this one, we needed to simplify. So we're going to do the distributive property, which is negative 6x plus 3 minus x plus 8. And so cats and dogs go together. So collect your like terms. So x's and x's go together. Constants go together. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. So distributive property and collect like terms. And I get this. And so notice that they're exactly the same. The left and the right are equal. And so what that means is no matter what you pick for x, you're going to be balanced. This is going to give you infinite many solutions because any number, if you sub in 0, you're going to get 11 equals 11. If you're going to sub in 1, you're going to get what? A negative 7 plus 11 is what? 4. And same thing over here. So no matter what you sub in, you're always going to get something equal to itself. If we solve this more and we kept going like added 7x to both sides, you're going to get a true statement like 11 does equal 11 or 0 does equal 0, which means any real number works for x. You can pick whatever you want. Later, we're going to get some equations where maybe the x's go away and you get something that's not true, like 11 equals 8 or 2 equals 0. And so that's saying, you know, that's balanced, which is not true. That is not balanced, which means those are going to give you no solution. So no matter what you do, the one side is always going to be heavier than the other, and it's definitely not going to be balanced. All right, go ahead and read the next part and then try number 4, and we'll end with that. All right, so in this one, remember when we talked about degrees of a polynomial, you might have thought, who cares? But this degree, the exponent actually tells you how many answers you could expect. So since there's an exponent of 2, the degree is 2, we're expecting that there's probably 2 answers here. And so again, we're looking for when the left and the right side balanced. So if you look at 9, the left and the right are the same, so they're balanced. So x equals a negative 3 is an answer. If you sub in a negative 3 into this, you get 9 on this side, you get 9 on that side. And there should be another one here. If you look, 64. Do you see how the left and right are both balanced? So 8 is an answer. If you sub in 8, you get 64. Sub in 8 over here, you get 64. So this one would have 2 answers because the degree is 2. So I was expecting 2 answers, and that's what I got. Sometimes you only get 1, sometimes none, just depends on the problem. All right, that's it for this section, and we'll keep working on.